Welcome to Change It Up Radio here with Paula Shaw. I am delighted to have you with me today. I'm going to be interviewing a couple of very interesting people who are doing some work that is definitely one with the times because the times are kind of crazy. And I'm calling this show Get Crazy or Get Creative, because that's certainly what we've seen a lot of during COVID. So again, welcome to Change It Up Radio. As those of you who follow us know, we are all about change. We're either spotlighting change makers who are trying to make the world a better place, or we are bringing information to help people make change smoother and more productive. Today, we're going to be spotlighting some very innovative, creative people who are not letting the tough times get them down. Because it's the old thing about take lemons and make lemonade, and it's not about waiting for the storm to pass, it's learning to dance in the rain. All those sayings are really telling us, basically, get crazy or get creative. Find a way to live with this. Find a way to make it work for you in your life. And I think one of the biggest areas in which people have had to get creative right now with what's going on is in the area of education. And before I get into that, I just want to remind everybody that if you would like to listen to past shows or get more information about Change It Up Radio, you can get that information and also learn about being a guest or a sponsor on this show at changeitupradio.com. That's changeitupradio.com. Also, if you would like more information about me and my work, excuse me, as a speaker, as a media host, as an author, I am the author of Saying the Right Thing When You Don't Know What to Say, and Grief, When Will This Pain Ever End? And both of those books are pretty darn relevant with what we're going through these days. So you can find them on Amazon, and you can find information on me at paulashaw.com. That's paulashaw.com. All righty. So let's get into this thing about get creative or be crazy. So one of the places where I know there was a lot of crazy going on for a while, and still people are working on a daily basis to try to make education work. I know my next door neighbor is an elementary school teacher. She is a devoted teacher. She thinks about this all the time. We've had many discussions, and she's the kind of teacher. Tori Steris is her name. She's the kind of teacher we all want our child to have because she really, really cares. But boy, I've gotten very aware of the obstacles that teachers are dealing with these days. Because, first of all, if you're teaching college kids and now they need to go online for classes, that's not such a big change. They're used to computers, they're used to doing things online. But if we're talking kindergartners, my assistant's daughter is a kindergartner this year. And I can't imagine, in one of my past incarnations, I taught elementary school, and I taught first, second, and third graders. And I cannot imagine how I would teach first, second, and third graders online. Because, I mean, it's tough enough when you're sitting right there with them and they're fidgety and they're looking around and they're giggling and they're doing the things they do as natural kids. But boy, trying to control a classroom when you're looking at these kids on a computer, that's a whole other ball game. And boy, my hat is off to, and I truly want to salute all the teachers out there who I know are literally creating minute by minute, creating each day as you go, because the school districts don't have the magic bullet figured out yet. They don't know exactly what is the right way to do this, the most effective way. We're all kind of learning as we go. And it's very, very challenging for teachers right now. And so I think we all need to say thank you in our hearts and with our mouths every chance we get to the teachers out there who are working so hard to figure it out. Several of my nieces and nephews are teachers, and you guys know how much I respect the efforts that you're trying to make and the children that you're trying to give a good education to, in spite of the fact that it's so hard for them to go into the school building in so many cases. So, one of the things that I'm excited that we're going to be talking about today is a program created by Brett Hummel. And I'll be telling you a little bit more about him in a while. But he stepped up and figured out a really amazing creative solution to one of the big problems that's going on now. I mean, we all know, our hearts ached for the high school seniors who didn't get to have a prom, who didn't get to have graduations, college students who didn't get to walk. I mean, that was the big thing, right? You got to walk in the graduation. And nobody got to do that this year. And that's a huge loss. You know, it's really hard. And we're all dealing with losses of different sorts. In fact, I was just visiting my parents the other day, and next weekend actually, is my 70th birthday. And normally in our family, that would be a big party, a big celebration. And they're feeling so sad that they can't do that for me because, you know, we still aren't safe to gather groups together. And so that, you know, I have to say my heart's a little bit sad that I won't have that big party. But on the other hand, I'm going to, you know, what we did to get creative, my children and I, is we are going to go visit my oldest friend from high school, Pat Garfield. We are still friends, and her wonderful partner, Carol Kladinsky, and we are going to laugh for 5 days. So it'll be a celebration extraordinaire. I was there during the 4th of July, and it was heaven. It was really heaven. We had such fun. So that's how we got creative. That's the way we substituted the big party for just a fun getaway. And so that's what I'm saying. We cannot control what happens in the world. None of us. And we don't always like what happens. I mean, COVID created upheaval that we never dreamed we'd be living through in our lifetimes. But, you know, what is that? There's a Chinese symbol, the same symbol for something like tragedy. I think it's tragedy. The same symbol turned the other way is opportunity. And that's what I think is the most productive way we can look at what's happening right now. We can either call it a tragedy and spend hours every day talking about what a mess the world is, posting about it and crying about it and lamenting over it, or we can look at where's the opportunity? What can I do differently? Or what is there an opportunity for now that wasn't there before? So I want to encourage everybody to, rather than getting crazy, get creative. Find a new way to do something. I have been so mind boggled with the creative things people have figured out how to do on Zoom. I mean, we are creatures, humans are great at resiliency and creativity when we need to be. And I think this is a fabulous opportunity for us to really fine tune that, bring it out and flaunt it, because it is one of our gifts. We adapt, right? That's how we've survived on the planet all these years. We can adapt and we can come up with a new way of doing things. We need to be creative about figuring out sources for sustainable energy, don't we? We need to get creative about a lot of problems that exist on the planet right now. We need to get creative about how we deal with the racial divisions within our country. We need to get creative. And we're good at that. It's a skill that we have. So let's just dig down together and make that happen. So right now, one of the issues that's going on for college seniors is this is often a time in their college career where they're doing internships, where they have mentors in the business that they want to go into. Well, you can't go to somebody's office for the most part right now. I can't even go into the radio studio. And so we have to get creative. And one of the things that I'm very excited to speak with Brett Hummel about is a creative idea that he came up with to connect people who are brilliant in their business with college students who are freshly trained, brilliant on their own. And it's this win-win idea that is really brilliant. Elizabeth Erwin will also be joining us, and she is in this program that we're going to be talking about. So please stay with us, especially if any of you have businesses or you have college students and you want to know what are some of the ways we can bridge this gap during this coronavirus crisis. So we will be back in just a moment with Brett Hummel and finding out all about the program that ProMazo has created. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right. Welcome back to Change It Up Radio here with Paula Shaw. And I am very excited to introduce to you in this segment Brett Hummel. He is the founder of ProMazo and the 100K Mentor Challenge. He graduated from the University of Notre Dame with dual degrees in economics and finance. ProMazo started originally as a student club because Brett noticed that many college students didn't have a good idea of their career choices. He recognized that the best way for students to gain experience and career knowledge was to participate in work experiences prior to graduation. At the same time, he saw that because of the pace of change in businesses, and who knew how much change we were all going to be coming into, businesses could no longer grow all of the talent and skills they needed. So he came up with this amazing creative idea to connect the top 5% of people attending university who have the latest skills with the businesses that need their abilities. So Brett, please join us. I would love you to share with us all about what you've created here. Hi, Brett.
Hi, how's it going, Paula?
Well, I hope it's going well, Brett. I don't know. I got a strange message at the end of the last segment, but so far we're good. We're recording and we're live on Facebook. So welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So Brett, first tell us a little bit about ProMazo and the 100K Mentor Challenge.
Sure. So ProMazo was started as I was a student because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And I saw many of my friends having a similar kind of situation. And as I did more and more research, it really started to show that companies were also struggling with how do they recruit the next generation of talent and also create a more flexible workforce.
Uh,
And so I realized that there was this incredible talent pool that was on campus, nearly 19 million college students. It represents nearly 18 trillion hours of unused labor when you think about that.
wow,
And
that's
right
huge.
now, yeah, and right now, most of them are working in the dining hall or, say, in the library to earn extra cash for their college degree. And
Wow.
so the idea was, what if instead of working, again, it's great to work in the dining hall, but what if you could actually work for a bank that you want to go for in the future? Because
Mhm.
now everything is remote and, the world was going virtual. Again, we never had any idea of how virtual it would become,
Yeah.
but the idea was that, and that's how we started. So,
Wow. So let's go back in time a little bit. Were there not COVID now, what would the average experience for a high school senior be like? Could they actually get jobs, paid jobs in the business of their choice, or would these be internships, or could it be both?
sure. So, I mean, in the original before COVID, the issue was that many colleges, as you know, aren't necessarily in the city centers where most of the jobs are.
Right.
And so, as a result, there weren't many opportunities to really explore your professional desires.
Hmm.
And so, that was really our concept, was that you had these, rocket scientists that would go work for SpaceX in the next couple of years, but at the same time, they were proctoring study halls or being a
Ah,
TA. And so again, we just said, what if instead of deploying them in that way, what if they could go towards this direction of a passion that they really truly love? And the idea was that now with technology, you no longer, companies, you don't have to go to the companies, but companies can now come to us. So our very first tagline, which we've since retired because we're at more schools now, but was if you could outsource to India, you could outsource to Indiana, which is where South Bend,
oh,
Notre Dame
I
is.
love
So
that. That's great. And so how is it going? Yeah, I mean, and are you the one who's contacting businesses? How are you connecting the kids or the young adults with the business people?
yeah, so when we first started, the idea was really that we were students ourselves, and so we were going out ourselves and contacting them.
Ah,
At first, to be very honest, people looked at us a little cross-eyed because they had this idea of Animal House for students, and so we had to really prove to them that no, these were the top of the top. They really wanted to be there and that they could actually contribute. And thankfully, there was many businesses. We've had a chance to work with over a dozen Fortune 100s now, and they've really stepped up and said this is something interesting. It's a new type of workforce, and the great part about it is that many of the students actually use it to pay down their student debt. So if they come out of it, they can help them with the student debt crisis that this country is right now facing. So that's the big goal too, as well.
oh, that's huge. And you know what I love about this? I can remember a while back a doctor that I was sitting with, talking with. She was a friend. And after all those years of schooling, she told me she had realized she did not like being a doctor. And obviously they have internship and they have things that they do, but once you're on that track and you've put in all those hours in school, you probably just keep telling yourself, I'll get used to it, or it'll get better. But the idea that you're putting these students in scenarios that they think they want to work in, so they can really get a sense of what it's like. What's the pressure? What's the expectation? What do you have to do every day to make this happen? I think
Yes,
it's
and I think
great.
yeah, and just to follow up on that, the idea too is exactly that, that students often don't get a chance to see the culture of a company
Yeah.
and over a long period of time, and it doesn't match their values. So a lot of time you're faced with, my friend went here, so I'll apply there. But
Yeah.
the idea is for both the companies and the students, it allows them to really get to know each other. And so even for the company's perspective, they get great work done, but then they also get to recruit that next generation and build up that confidence that they're the right fit. And for the student, they now feel that they are ready to go and that's where they want to go. So you
Mhm.
nailed that spot on of that with your doctor friend.
It's so brilliant when you think about it, because the advantage for the company is they've already had the experience of this person. They've seen them at work. They've seen whether they're dedicated or whether they're slacking off, or whether they're creative enough or whether they're not really a fit for that company. So it's a win for the company, I think, for sure. And what I love for the student is there's nothing like experience to be a teacher. You know what I mean? A teacher of life, not necessarily a teacher in schools. Experience gives us a real opportunity to feel it out, to check it out firsthand, and then really know, is this what I want to do? So I love what you're doing. So, Brett, how are you finding the companies? How are they receptive to this brilliant idea that you've come up with of matching students with real business experiences?
Yeah, I mean, overall, they've been wonderful, and we've had some wonderful partners. We've been able to partner with several of the Fortune 500s over the last few years. But definitely in the beginning, when we first started out, we were all students, and so when we were coming to talk to many of these very senior executives, they hadn't ever done, say, Zoom calling or anything like that before. So the idea of remote work and then trusting students to do that work was also a little foreign to them. But
Mhm.
we had some very forward-thinking initial partners, and we were able to push through those barriers. And now there's literally hundreds of students that work through the program every single year, and we've had many go on to work successfully at companies after they graduated. So
I think it's such a brilliant idea. And it's almost like somehow you got an inspiration that was going to be so perfect during COVID, because we all had to go online, right? Only you kind of got the download ahead of time, put the pieces in place. Really, in a way, I think you've created a model that a lot of businesses can emulate in figuring out how to work with their own employees online, right?
yes, we spent a lot of time, and that's one of the beauties of the model too, the ProMazo network, because we're so interconnected to the colleges, we can actually tap into different expertise. So whenever we need to, so as an example, remote work, we actually worked with PhD students who actually study this from behavioral psychology perspectives to figure out how do we build the model properly so that we can get the most potential. So
Wow. So let me ask you a question. Let's say I'm a business, and yeah, let's say I'm a media business, and I am looking for somebody who's great at social media. If I'm in your network, can I do what do I do? Do I contact you? Is there a place I fill out a form and say this is what I'm looking for? How does that work?
sure. So for our for that side of the business, the ProMazo side, which is the workforce side, you can go to promazo.com,
Uh-huh.
and that's where we have our sign up forms, and we'll be in contact and touch then. We're revamping everything on the site because we just launched our new initiative called the 100K Mentor Challenge. But right now, that site is definitely up and ready to work with different partners. And yeah, we would then set up some time to speak with each other and then understand what the needs are. And then we would go into our own network of thousands of students and ProMazo fellows
Uh,
and people like who you meet, Elizabeth, who is a great PR person and runs the student newspaper or is an editor there. And that might be one of the fellows that you would have as part of joining your team for the future.
That is incredible, incredible. And what I love about it is it's sort of like an upscale version of Upwork or some of those sites online where you go in when you have a certain need, but you're providing educated people who have expertise in these areas. So
Yes.
the well of talent that you have to draw from is huge.
Yes, and also the big thing that we also noticed too is that a lot of professionals are very busy. So we actually also put a level of management over it. So all the work is actually managed by full-time Promazo staff who are experts in remote work. So that way you don't have to worry about the day-to-day of any of that stuff. And then, like you said, the expertise, if you think about the intellectual firepower of university, they're inventing machine learning techniques. They're the ones who are, building the latest designs. So we're tapping in right into that whole entire creative force.
Oh, it's so amazing. I mean, yeah, we're getting people with state of the art knowledge who are young and enthusiastic and ready to work. And let me ask you this now, is there a fee? If I'm a business and I want to bring one of these students on board to work with me, do I pay a fee to join?
Yeah, it's a flexible model. So the whole idea is that it allows companies to spin up and spin down resources as they need it.
Mhm.
And the idea is that it'd be called a membership, and so they'll work with the company throughout the year. But then every year, the company gets to decide if their skill set needs change throughout the year. So if, for example, you as a media company might need PR and social media help for one particular year, but then the next year you need to build out a new website or model out the data of your listeners, then you switch over to the more analytical technical talent that we have. So the idea is you can move up and down with
Wow.
different resources as you need it.
That's brilliant, brilliant. And then is there a point at which we make that transition? Like, let's say I fall in love with the person that I'm working with and I want to hire her or hire him. Then do you help put that together or do I work that out with them separately as the business?
We work together with the HR departments at most of the companies to facilitate that. And that's actually our whole dream and goal. It's not required of any company because, again, both sides get a really tremendous value out of it.
Uh
But
huh.
the idea is that you have that opportunity to do that. And as millennials and Gen Zs, they're very focused on the relationships they build and the culture they get connected to. So again, because they trust you, because they've worked with you, there's a much higher significant chance that they're going to come work for you full time because they've had that great experience compared to other places.
I love that, and that's a great point you make about millennials. It matters to them that they're working for somebody that they're in alignment with, that they believe in the values of the company, and I think that's very, very critical. So, you know what? It's we need to go to a quick break, but when we
Sure.
come back, let's bring Elizabeth out here and let's let everybody experience from the side of the student what actually is going on. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Elizabeth Erwin. Welcome back to Change It Up Radio here with Paula Shaw. And we're calling this show today Get Crazy or Get Creative. And my guest, Brett Hummel, is one of those people that got creative and he created an amazing program called ProMazo that connects talented college seniors and actually college people of all ages with businesses who need their skills. It's a brilliant program and it all works online. And we're about to meet somebody who actually has been in the program. Her name is Elizabeth Erwin. And let me tell you just a little bit about her. She's a senior at Murray State University studying public relations and international studies. She's a proud Kentucky girl and she loves telling stories of people that are often overlooked. In her time at Murray State, she's learned the value of mentorship. And through the 100K Mentors Challenge, which she's going to talk to us about in just a moment, she hopes to spread her passion for creating meaningful professional relationships to students across the country. She works for the Murray State newspaper and serves as chapter president for Murray State PRSSA. I'm not sure what that is. Welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really good. Let's get us all on here now. And tell us a little bit. First of all, what is PRSSA?
So it stands for the Public Relations Student Society of America. It is the only pre-professional organization for PR majors.
Oh, very good. And that's your major, PR, huh?
Mhm.
Terrific. And have you been able to do work through Promazo with a professional company in this area?
So I've actually been working on the 100K Mentor Challenge, and that's been my focus this summer with Mazo.
And tell us about that. We haven't talked about it yet, so you can reveal what it's all about.
Absolutely. So, in light of all of the cancellations that have been happening on college campuses because of COVID, from internships, career fairs, professional development opportunities, all those things have been canceled and we need to move into a different platform. And so we noticed that these cancellations are really impacting students that are from underrepresented backgrounds who otherwise, off of a physical college campus, don't necessarily have any kind of professional network to fall back onto. So what we are trying to do is connect 100,000 students from those underrepresented backgrounds with 100,000 working professionals through an app to create some kind of mentorship relationship between the two of them. And we're hoping that by doing this, we can just really revitalize that professional network that would normally you'd be getting on a college campus, but because of COVID, we're no longer getting.
Wow, what a brilliant idea. So now, is this a part of ProMazo? I mean, is it working to connect these kids in the way that we've been discussing, Brett?
Yes, so it's actually the way of our giving back. So we knew that, we're not the largest company in the world by any stretch of the imagination yet. And, so we thought of how could we, to your point of get creative, how could we creatively help students during this time? And again, the power of ProMazo is really its network. And so we reached out to our student communities and people like Elizabeth, and we actually now have 40 different students across a technical team, algorithm development. Elizabeth works on the corporate side, working with corporate partners, student team members, so that they're all giving their time, everyone's volunteering to make sure that this becomes a reality so that we can help a lot of students right now who are having a big transition because everything went virtual. So companies went virtual, colleges went virtual, and then most especially recruiting went virtual. And so no one had any idea of how this could all work. And so everyone was very fearful. And so we said, how could we, step in and help right now?
And one of the things you brought up earlier that I think we should touch on is a lot of the students were counting on some kind of work, part-time work, to be able to pay their rent and survive, right? And so they got hit hard with the restrictions of COVID. And so what you're doing now is offering them opportunities to possibly get paid work online. Is that correct?
That's correct. Through the ProMazo program, for sure. The 100K Mentor Challenge is much more focused on just rebuilding and revitalizing the networks between college students and professionals, so that they can build that connection. Because to take you back to the spring, and Elizabeth has some great stories herself of what happened there. But from our own experience, the students we talked to, we just saw a ton of fear. And so one of our students, as a great example, he comes from one of those backgrounds that are underserved. And so, he woke up one day and saw social media posts saying, school's canceled, everything's out, figure out how to get home.
Oh,
And so he, comes from, a very lower background in terms of economically and everything like that. And he lives 2,000 miles away from his home. And so he didn't want to bother his mom because, she was taking care of his grandmom who was sick. And so he was just sitting there at his campus on that day. And they said, you have 48 hours to figure it out. But he didn't know where he was going to get his financial aid, his next meal, where he was going to move all his stuff to. And as he was scrambling to the campuses, it was kind of just a war zone of trying to figure it all out. And what we noticed is that students that come from these underrepresented backgrounds they depend on the college community and companies coming on campus to build the network so they can find those full-time jobs when they graduate. But now, because all those networks are basically gone, you basically have no one being able to connect those two communities together. And so we thought, how could we build a platform that could connect these communities? And so this is, again, just our way of giving back. So for the mentors and mentees, it's completely free. It's just our way of connecting students with professionals who want to help these incredible students who, through no fault of their own, just don't have a program anymore to go through. And so we're almost rebuilding that program and helping them do that for them.
that is so brilliant. And so, Elizabeth, tell us a little bit about your role in that program. What do you do on a daily basis?
So right now I'm on the student team that is reaching out to companies to get them on board with this and to spread it within their own companies. There's such a big demand for mentorship right now, especially among students. I'm a senior, and so I have no idea what I'm doing after I graduate in May. And especially during this crazy time, any kind of professional direction is helpful. And I know I'm not the only one feeling that way. And so, what we're doing is reaching out to companies to try to get them on board for this process so that these students that are eagerly awaiting a mentor can get one.
Hmm. That's so great. And what is the means you're doing this through? Did I hear you say there's an app that's being created or that is out there already?
Yeah. So that's the whole idea is we decided to make digital mentorship. So, instead of the one-on-one localized component, what if we could go where the help was needed most?
Mhm.
So, professionals come from all different backgrounds. And again, colleges are typically in more rural areas. And so they're not always in the same places. And so with Gen Z, millennials, using their phones as their main medium, we
Yes.
built out the entire thing through that as their platform. And then we also knew that professionals are very busy, so we decided to automate most of the matching process for them. So therefore, they don't have to spend a lot of time swiping through endless profiles. And then we built out an entire structure. And again, this is all student generated and student built. So students like Elizabeth came together this summer, put together the entire program. They built the entire app in 65, 70 days. And
Oh,
then it's being released into the App Store for this fall. So,
oh, that is so exciting. So it hasn't yet been released, correct?
correct. It's going to be released in the end of September, early October is the first date where we're going to launch.
Oh, I'm so excited. So, Elizabeth, if I'm, and I'm a business who will probably be wanting to get that app and look for people to help in different roles in media. Um, will I just go to the app store? What will I do once you launch?
Well, actually, you don't have to wait until we launch. We have a website up now for people to
Oh,
pre-register if they are interested. If you go to 100kmentors.org, that's 100mentors.org, and there's a K in there, whoops. So 100kmentors.org, you can pre-register today, and you can send that as your company. You can register as an individual. If you're interested, you do not have to wait for it to be on the App Store.
oh, I love that. So let's give everybody listening that information again. If you like what you've heard so far, and there's a young, well trained, sharp college student that could help you in your business and in whatever area you need, because they are covering a huge multitude of different kinds of jobs and people, then you can go to, all right, make sure we do this right. Elizabeth, I'll let you say it again. 100K
Mentors. So 100k mentors with an S.org.
mentors.org. Okay, and there's the forms there that people can fill out and they can figure out how to request, I guess, the kind of student that they're looking for with what particular training, right? Like if I need somebody in public relations, obviously I would want you, but I don't know that yet because I'd just be going on the app. So what happens? Who then is doing the work? Let's say I go on and fill out that paperwork. Then what happens, Elizabeth?
Or Brett, do you want to take the app side of this? I think.
Yeah, so just a quick clarification there. So on the actual work stream itself, that's through ProMazo. The 100K Mentor Challenge is that Elizabeth was mentioning was more focused on connecting just students to mentors. So that's if they want to help be a mentor and guide a student for the next. The idea is for the next academic year, if they'd be willing to donate 1 hour of their time a month to support and guide a student through this time. And so that's what the 100K Mentor Challenge
Oh,
is
I
focused on.
love that. I didn't quite understand before. And darn it, we've got to go to a break right now. But when we come back, let's just try and make this a little bit clearer and wrap it up so people know exactly what they're able to get through this program and who they can get connected with.
Okay.
So we will be right back to explain all of that. Welcome back to Change It Up Radio here with Paula Shaw. And well, not in studio because we're not in studio anymore, but with me today on my show is Brett Hummel, who created a company called ProMazo that we've been talking about that connects college students with businesses to help provide some of the needs of that business for people that are doing particular kinds of work, different skills in a variety of areas. And also with me is Elizabeth Erwin, who is spearheading the 100K Mentor Challenge that we were just talking about in the last segment. So, you guys, I was a little confused. So, I want to get clarity here because I may have confused the listeners. So, Brett, Promazo is all about connecting students with work opportunities, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And now, Elizabeth, explain to us the difference between what's happening with the 100K Challenge program.
Absolutely. So the 100K Mentor Challenge program is all these students across the country, including myself, have come together to build out this app to help connect students to working professionals. Maz's role in it is really just giving us the resources to make it happen. And so what we are trying to achieve is to get 100,000 students from underrepresented backgrounds matched with 100,000 professionals to have an immersive mentorship experience through our app that we've all developed as students.
Beautiful. And so let's say I'm a person who's interested in being a mentor. What do I do? And what's required of me?
So all we ask of mentors is that they contribute 1 hour a week for 4 sessions with their mentee. We understand that professionals are super busy people, and we want to make this as quick and easy as possible, but still beneficial for both the mentor and the student. So we only ask for that 1 hour a month. As far as if you're interested in participating in this program, you can visit 100kmentors.org to pre-register, and then you will get notified once our app launches in the App Store.
And how will I connect with my person? How does that happen?
Sure. So this is again the beauty of the students and the student minds being creative. So
Uh,
they developed an entire algorithm system that they actually modeled on how medical students are chosen for their particular medical school. And
uh-huh.
so they use a similar derivation of that. And so the app will you fill out your details, and then across 25 different variables, ranging from the type of underrepresented student that you want to support. So say a woman in STEM, all the way across to someone from the LGBTQ community,
Mhm.
and then along with 25 other variables, so personality, leadership style, etc. Then we actually match you based on that from our pool of students that have also requested a mentor, and then based on that, we match the two together. So
And so the advantage for the student is, in a way, it's sort of like a life coach, but a life coach who's doing the job you think you want to do. Correct?
exactly, and I think too the whole point is that it's crucial because what they've shown in research is that 7 out of 10 jobs actually come from networking. And
Mhm.
so, because all those networks have completely been devastated, and especially for underrepresented students who
Right.
oftentimes use on campus recruiting to build those networks, those are all gone and stripped away. And
Uh,
it's really important because about 40% of people graduate today and don't and go into underemployment. And so we really risk a whole generation, especially as we've now gotten colleges to become more diverse, of having an entire lost generation because of those students who don't go into their jobs that require that degree. Nearly 10 years later, 75% of them will still be in that same job. So it's hypercritical for their future to get these networks rebuilt immediately because if we don't, again, it's going to be a very big struggle and you can have a lot of underemployment or unemployment from amongst these populations.
so then you would have these people with college degrees who are very smart and very well educated who just don't have the knowledge to know how to go get a job. That's what we're talking about, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And the idea is that as a professional, someone like yourself, right, has seen recessions come and go, they've seen things. And so the idea is, especially in your field, say media, you have a really wealth of experience that you might suggest right now to a student. And that's why it's open to everyone, any company, any employee, because you have the experience of what it's like to be a working professional and what could they be doing right now to set themselves up for success.
Beautiful. So I definitely want to do it. I'm going to sign up. But anybody else out there who's listening to this show, please hear this. 1 hour a week of your time can help a young person who's young and excited and inspired, but doesn't exactly know which direction to go, or may have things come up along the way that they need that voice of wisdom to run by to get some ideas as to how to better handle the situation. I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't have at least an hour a week that they could give to a student. I'm already thinking of all the people I know that I'm going to contact and tell about this program. So you mentioned there's a website, Elizabeth. Does the website explain the program? So let's say I put out an email and I say, hey guys, this is the most amazing thing. Go to blah, blah, blah. Would that explain to them what their responsibilities would be and what the program is?
Yes, and just to clarify, we're only asking for 1 hour a month. If a
Oh,
mentor does want to do an hour a week, that's awesome. I mean, the student will also put in their preferred amount of commitment per month too into the app as well. And so, 1 hour a week is awesome, but we just need 1 hour a month. And so, if you are interested, 100kmentors.org website does have all of the information there. And then once the app is launched, you'll be able to see more of the information.
fabulous. Now, do you guys have a Facebook page or Instagram, or are there social media pages where you're also trying to get the word out about this?
Yeah, so that's all going to be run through ProMazo social media pages. So if you go to search ProMazo on Instagram and also Facebook, and then also on LinkedIn as well, especially where we have a lot of our presence. And then we'll be launching all about this initiative right after Labor Day, will be the official kind of start point.
And Brett, would you spell ProMazo for everybody? Because sometimes when they're just hearing things, it's hard to know what word we're actually saying.
Absolutely. So it's ProMazo, PROMAZO.com. And that's ProMazo, PROMAZO.
Beautiful. And Elizabeth, tell us just a little bit about, for you, because you actually experienced ProMazo before this new brilliant idea came up. What did it mean for you to be able to have something like ProMazo to connect with people out there in the real world, so to speak, in the job area that you're considering, or the professional career area you're considering?
Well, actually, I joined ProMazo just for the 100K Mentor Challenge, but having this experience has been so rewarding for me because as a senior, last semester for me was very, very chaotic, as well as my classmates. I was actually supposed to study abroad in China last semester, but because of the coronavirus outbreak, that trip was canceled. And so I found myself in late January rushing back down to my school to start classes almost a month after they had begun. And in that time I was back on campus, I was scrambling to find some kind of internship opportunity. And by the time I really felt like I was situated and knew what I was doing during the summer, the outbreak worsened and class went all virtual. And so this opportunity with ProMazo and the 100K Mentor Challenge has just really resonated with me because I have experienced it all firsthand, all of this chaos that has resulted from the pandemic. And so I think this is an amazing opportunity for students like myself, as well as students from underrepresented backgrounds who may not have had any kind of professional direction once stuff went virtual, or any kind of support once things did go virtual. This is an opportunity for them to really gain direction and to build out their networks.
Oh, I think it's such a beautiful idea, because when we say these under, excuse me, represented students, we're talking about people who may be socioeconomically challenged, right? Or even maybe physically challenged, or Yeah, so we're talking about people who maybe got to school on some kind of a scholarship, and now school's changed and that funding has been pulled from them, correct?
Exactly. So the main demographics that we're trying to support for the first 100,000 students are going to be women, people of color, LGBTQ, people with an ADA defined disabilities, like you mentioned there. And then also, we thought it was also very important for first generation college students, so who don't really have a lot of that structure behind them. So that will be the focus for the first launch.
Wow. This is so beautiful. I'm so blown away by what you guys have created. And I can't urge everybody strongly enough to please get involved in this. You know, you can go to 100kmentors.com, is it?
Org.
Org.org. If you want to become one of those mentors. And if you want to learn more about ProMazo and maybe actually hiring one of these college kids to work for you, uh, is that promazo.org,
Dot
.com?
com.
.com, ProMazo, PROMAZO.com. Brett and Elizabeth, you are truly the epitome of, rather than getting crazy, you got creative and you are benefiting so many people. I am so delighted that you've crossed my path, and I intend to have much more interaction and work with you and with what you're doing. And if there's any way that I can help, I absolutely will. And thank you also for bearing with our technical challenges today. It was delightful to have you both. And thank you to our listeners. Remember that we are on AM 1170 and 96.1 FM on Sunday evenings at 9 o'clock. We're on every major podcast platform and iHeart and Blog Talk Radio. And we're on the newest, most exciting podcast platform now called Podopolo. You really want to check that out because it involves gaming and rewards and all kinds of cool things in addition to listening to your favorite podcasts. So thank you again for being with us. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, Elizabeth. And we will see you next week. Until then, take care and stay safe. Bye-bye.